So, Pokemon. Where to begin with Pokemon? Frankly, the games fucking suck now. I know many of you, including myself, have a very dear fondness for the Pokemon franchise, with it being a literal staple in our childhoods. But hot damn, these games are not making any leaps at all whatsoever. It has been like the same game for the last 10 years. Listen, I could be honest with you, right? Come on, listen, I love Pokemon, probably a bit too much, and I've done it all in this franchise. From a little bit of competitive play, to shiny hunting, to competitive shiny hunting, I will milk the content out of these games, and admittedly, I have been part of the problem, being one of the people who keeps buying these damn games. But right now, I'm putting my foot down, I say. Down, I say! So you may ask, Dan, the heck, man, these games are still a good time, we can still enjoy them. To that I say, fair enough. But with my whole take on wasted potential and how much I care for these games, I really think a lot more can be done. Over the last decade, the games have been in a special spot, where the same formula is being used for every game, and millions of copies are still being sold because of that perfect name familiarity with the entire series. But like, guys, we've gotten 5 different versions of Mega Evolution, and I'm tired of it. When Mega Evolution first came out, I was like, damn, this is a cool way to spice up the games. But Game Freak couldn't decide whether or not they wanted to actually keep this in the game, so they just kept getting rid of it and then putting it back in to make new ones. Like Sword and Shield, they were like, big, we need to make them big. And it's just all the same fundamental idea. Go Balrog, make your attack go more, wham! Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 50 more times and I'm done, man. I just can't. Another fun gimmick they like to pump out are regional variants of a lot of fan-favorite Pokemon. Essentially, these were new designs of old Pokemon with just new types, so they didn't have to make new Pokemon. On that point, what the fuck are these? These games keep using these gimmicks as a facade to cover up the fact that these games have barely evolved since its original release. I think for that higher price point, it becomes harder and harder to justify buying a very half-baked package. Like that last game could barely run at launch. I don't even know where it's at now. It sucks because a lot of these concepts have potential, and there's still a lot of good aspects in these games. The fact that they still sell the way they do is testament to the quality of Pokemon as a brand, and even more so the original package that was put out. Before making this video, I turned to some of my friends who were avid Pokemon players, and this idea that the games feel really unpolished these days was a massive turnoff for them. The contents of the game feel a lot less interesting. The story, even though it was never really perfect to begin with, also kind of felt a lot less engaging. Also, gameplay-wise, the newer games have become a lot easier. A lot of the fun in some of the earlier titles were those battles where it took time to overcome. Leveling up your team, then planning a strategy with a sequence of which Pokemon to use. Like, these elements still exist, but I feel like in the new games, it just ends up breezing by really quickly, and that final championship fight doesn't feel as fulfilling. Obviously, we all have our different biases when looking at Pokemon overall, and objectively, these games need to change the way they are being made and released. The almost yearly releases and the effort being spent into making DLC for those brokey games is a lot of wasted time, in my opinion. I think they're very much onto something with Legends Arceus. In terms of recent Pokemon games, I definitely had some of the most fun in a while with that title. Adding new ways to catch Pokemon in battle made the experience feel fresh, and making Pokemon an open world I think is just the right direction to go in. But the problem with Arceus was that the game felt a little bit rough around the edges, and at times the world felt empty. Looking at it from a production standpoint, you can't help but question what was happening. They were pumping out Scarlet and Violet alongside this game, and I think the entire process would have been a lot smoother if they had just scrapped Scarlet and Violet from the get-go and focused all of their effort into Legends Arceus. But instead, we got a decent Pokemon experience and then a stinker later in the year. Looking at the state of Pokemon where it stands, it can really go any direction. This winter, the new DLC is coming out for Scarlet and Violet, and that's about it. I just pray that Game Freak can look back at the type of innovation that made the game special in the first place and add new elements to their open world template that will make things more interesting. Anyway, I'm going back to Pokemon Platinum for research. Hey you're not subscribed to the channel. I make a lot of content here. If you want to see more rants, reviews, and shenanigans, subscribe for more. Thanks. Bye-bye.